Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemons, and this is a breakdown of What If Season 2, Episode 4, What If Iron Man Crashed into the Grandmaster. Erik says he's out on paternity leave, but I'm pretty sure he's sucking down dog park flavored cocktails and got his holiday break started early. But today, we're going scene by scene for all the Fast and Furious Mad Max pod racing animation details you might have missed. And before we get started, if you're looking to spend a little bit of that holiday cash, head on over to nerdriot.shop. You can grab a shirt we made that's directly inspired by this episode. I have a sweatshirt of it right here. Do you see how cool it is? Look at how amazing it is. Isn't it beautiful? We also have hats, hoodies, and enough Loki merch to last us until Season 3. Please give us a Season 3. I would love that. Kevin Feige, if you're listening, I'm begging you. I'll kill for you. Anyways, let's get into it. We start on the abridged Marvel Studios logo with the animation brushstrokes that we've seen for the last few episodes. During a screening of these episodes for the media, Marvel also showed off trailers for some of their 2024 animated shows that included another new Marvel Studios logo, this time dropping the studio so it just reads Marvel Animation. And I'll be curious if they stick with this bumper or switch their newer one for the future animated series. We get our first previously on for the series to help explain why Gamora was present for the events of the last season's finale. The episode was originally set to air during Season 1, but was moved to this season due to COVID delays. Director of this episode, Brian Andrews, said this episode was unchanged from the version that would have aired during Season 1, but he lied. This previously on section was added for the new season, and while most of the shots in this opening are taken from the original Season 1 finale, this shot of young Gamora is the new one for this episode. This episode was also rumored to be called What If Gamora Killed Thanos when it was planned for Season 1, and I think this title changes after. We open on the ending of the Avengers. Tony directs the atomic bomb into the Chitauri command center, but this time doesn't fall back through the sanctuary wormhole, instead going on a 2001 Space Odyssey planet hopping tour reminiscent of Thor's trippy journey through the cosmos in Ragnarok. Tony is voiced by Mick Winger, reprising his role from Season 1 and yesterday's Christmas episode. He crashes into the Grandmaster's palace on Sakaar and meets the Grandmaster himself, voiced by Jeff Goldblum, and Topaz played by the frequent Taika Waititi collaborator Rachel House, returning from Thor Ragnarok. Tony's suit sparks and Topaz hit him with the foam, and I love this little detail. We see later that the Grandmaster is a huge fan of chariots exploding during the Grand Prix, so I imagine they had these foam cannons installed in case one of the burning cars makes it all the way up to the tower. Grandmaster tells Tony he's on Sakaar, and Tony says this.
I'm sorry, planet? As in, I'm lost in space?
Yes.
And yes, this would be in fact Tony's first time on a new planet. Lost in Space is also a reference to the 1965 show and the 2018 Netflix reboot of the same name about a family finding themselves stranded on an alien planet. The Grandmaster recognizes Tony due to his heroics in the Battle of New York and the Battle of Earth. He's an elder of the universes and can travel through space and time, which is likely how he knows Tony has defeated Thanos in some realities. Though Tony was notably absent in 838's fight against Thanos, we do know he was around that universe for a time. Though it is possible that the Grandmaster is simply referring to the Battle of New York, as Thanos was a mastermind behind that attack. The Grandmaster calls Tony by a few nicknames, including Rocket Man and Tin Man, before landing on Metal Mojo Man. Mojo is a frequent foil to the X-Men in the comics, but I wouldn't certainly call his physique, metal. This could also be a tangential reference to the Jimi Hendrix song Mojo Man, which has the lyrics, "I see electric flames you all, they are burning all over Mojo Man, from a faraway land." It's also possible that Jeff Goldblum just likes alliteration and groovy words like mojo. He'd be like that. Tony says this.
Okay, Wizard of Oz, I need to get back there to Earth pronto.
Damn, after Ragnarok's pure imagination sequence, I was really hoping for a Wonka tie-in. Tony's Oz reference will come full circle soon enough, though.
Oh, I'm melting.
The Grandmaster says this.
But first, you gotta stay and celebrate with us. It's my 21st.
21st what?
Birthday. I know.
Okay, his 21st. On the surface, this seems like just a joke about Jeff Goldblum's age, but being an elder of the universe, I'm wondering if he's actually celebrating like the 21st century? Millennium? He's old! He also loves birthdays. In Thor Ragnarok, as Bruce Banner was piloting the Grandmaster's stolen ship, he presses a button that activates a birthday celebration sequence complete with banging soundtrack, disco lights, and fireworks. Topaz used the aptly named Melt Stick to melt a statue of someone playing a horn. Given the time and setting, I believe this is a statue of Heimdall playing the Yowler horn, a horn used to signal the beginning of Ragnarok. It also could be just a statue of some guards with horns we see later in the episode. The Grandmaster says this.
So let's make some noise for our Dollies and Clyde.
Dollies and Clydes. I'm pretty confident that's just a reference to the chariots, Dollies being platforms with wheels and Clydes being shorthand for Clydesdale horses. During our research, we also found an episode of Bewitched where Samantha turns a woman named Dolly into a racehorse, and I needed to share it. Valkyrie's vehicle has these three fins, which are nods to the wings of Thor's helmet. You can see Roscoe, gladiator who participated on the Sakarian Rebellion in Thor Ragnarok and eventually made it to be a statesman, as well as Tazbun, Korg, and in the earlier scene we saw Biff hanging in the Grandmaster's palace. Since this takes place well before Hulk arrived in Sakaar, then maybe these gladiators were here for a while. But again, time works differently on Sakaar, as we know. Tony refers to this race as similar to Formula 1, something I assume he's all too familiar with from this time in Monaco facing off against Whiplash. While Erik is out on paternity leave. He has mandated that every video has at least one lost reference. Go back to my videos and see if you can find them. So here goes nothing. She dodges out of the way of another car that gets sucked up into the jet like an engine of another vehicle, just like the guy in Lost Pilot. The Grandmaster says this to Tony.
Oh, look at that flame. He was made to be roadkill.
Ironic considering Tony's parents ended up as roadkill. I'm not sorry. I bring up his dead parents a lot in this series already. Space has a reputation for being lonely, but when you're playing Warframe, it's not lonely at all. More than 75 million people are playing Warframe, a cooperative, free-to-play, third-person online action game that makes you the main character in a constantly evolving space opera that's crazy fun. In Warframe, you take on the role of a Tenno, an ancient warrior race who pilots the titular Warframe's exosuits loaded with a bazillion weapons that let you slice, shoot, and explode your way through the cosmos any way you like. One of the things that has kept Warframe going for so long are regular content updates. Its newest cinematic quest, Whispers in the Walls, is available now and is introducing new areas to explore, a new Warframes to explore them with, and new weapons so you can customize your build. Whispers in the Walls plot explores the deep secrets surrounding the mysterious outbreak Entrati and the entity only known as the Man in the Wall. Plus, you'll meet the Murmur, a brand new big bad, get to use the Grimoire, a new void-powered weapon, and pilot the Corvex, the newest Warframe who's loaded with deadly radiation weapons. If you haven't played Warframe before, you can register for free today using the link in the description. Join more than 75 million players on PC, Xbox Series X, PS5, Nintendo Switch, and more, and start playing one of the most critically acclaimed cooperative online action games with more than 10 years of content today. The crowd throws chinchillas at a crashed Valkyrie, and the Grandmaster says this.
We used to throw rotten food, but given the recent famines leaving people, how do I put this?
Starving.
Peckish. It's considered uncouth.
Yes, unfortunately, the Grandmaster sugarcoating the plight of the Sicarians isn't new. In Thor Ragnarok, he bristled at Topaz referring to some workers as slaves, and instead opted for prisoners with jobs. Valkyrie grabs a drink from the Sicarian Dom Toretto, and it's the same brand she swigs in Ragnarok. Score! Topaz calls for the champion to be released, and everyone expecting Hulk doesn't have their MCU timeline down like we do. Out bursts Snuffy, the elephant monster. Snuffy could be a reference to the Muppet of the same name, though I would advise you not to Google that on your work computer because you're gonna get some weird images. Tony attempts to suit up, but as he puts on the glove, he says,
Why is it sticky?
ugh. Assuming the Grandmaster had his hands on this last, I think we all know why. Though, interestingly, this tech to call the pieces to his body was developed for the Mark 42 armor in Iron Man 3 after the Battle of New York. I guess in this What If universe, Tony developed this tech earlier. Gamora emerges from the smoke to hunt Tony down for his actions against Thanos, but before she can land the killing blow, they both get zapped with the same taser detainment disc that Thor does in Thor Ragnarok. Tony is able to remove his restraining chip via his arc reactor, still embedded in his chest, as he didn't remove it until the end of Iron Man 3. Tony says this.
Not hanging around to play Dr. Moreau's Hunger Games, that's for sure.
A reference to both the H.G. Wells novel, The Island of Dr. Moreau, but a mad scientist who creates human-animal hybrids in The Hunger Games, a novel about kids killing each other to win a tournament in the center of my TikTok For You page. I love Josh Hutcherson, just not that much. Attempting to escape, Korg Leroy Jenkins his way in and hits the guards with the old Hulky Hulk. We've already seen a callback to this in What If this season. The animators just can't resist it. Korg also says this.
Oh, Tony, you blinked.
Tony is the name of an R&B group from the 90s. Korg is really leaning into the two-man band thing. Gamora catches up and grabs the same gun Loki and Thor manage to get their hands on as they escape Sakaar and Ragnarok. Tony lays into Gamora saying this.
Do you know what it's like to see your homeworld destroyed? Almost brought to its knees by a madman?
Oh geez, Tony, I don't know. Does she? Tony asks Korg.
Is this Grandmaster guy as bad as my gut says he is?
Oh, this one time he used me as a paperweight, and can you imagine how that felt? Just to have to sit on paper, which is my nemesis.
That's the second Korg rock, paper, scissors joke this season and the third in the MCU. I'll give it a pass since this episode was originally intended for season 1, but I'm on to you writers. As Korg says, Tony's mother must be proud of him being Iron Man. Iron being what I assume is a very impressive type of rock to, you know, rock like people. At the bar, Korg says this.
Look at this little thing. I think I'll name him Nico, after my friend Jeffrey.
We did some pretty deep digging here, and while Jeffrey is likely a reference to Jeff Goldblum, we're pretty sure that Nikos is a reference to a relatively obscure Marvel character named Emil Nikos, who in the comics is best friends with Dr. Michael Morbius. And Look here. Make Korg Mobius. Gamora steals the melt stick from Topaz and melts some guards, noting that it smells like burnt yarrow root. In Ragnarok, Topaz says it smells like burnt toast, but yarrow root has been mentioned in the MCU a few times. First in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and later we see it in an episode of I Am Groot. Working as a team, Tony, Korg, and Valkyrie get to work creating a new Iron Man suit, and Tony challenges the Grandmaster to a race for the planet. The Grandmaster rolls up in the car sporting the Iron Man signature red and gold, which is corny as hell. His racer bears similarity to his ship, the Commodore, so maybe he's been an Iron Man fan for some time. And then Tony says this.
Slap me and call me Spartacus, that's a chariot.
Of course, a reference to the 1994 action comedy cult classic Blank Man starring Damon Wayans.
Slap me around and call me Susan.
Tony slaps a comms device on the roof of Gamora's car and hits her with a "let's keep in touch" hags, like he's signing a 7th grade yearbook, or me signing my nephew's yearbook today. During the race, Korg karate chops one of the cars and it makes this Star Wars blaster sound. The car spills out of the mouth of a Gundam looking thing as the course turns into something definitely reminiscent of a Hot Wheels track. We've seen Tony's suit turn into a lot of things, but now it's a goddamn transformer as it turns into a Formula 1 style race car. The Grandmaster activates some course obstacles and sets loose 2 more elephant monsters that run to block the entrance to the arena, reminding me of King Kong at the end of the race to the first key in Ready Player One. Tony says this.
Thank you, Gamora. Is that Dutch? Swedish, maybe?
Gamora is, of course, not from Earth, but the closest earthly counterpart to that name would be the biblical city Gomorrah that was destroyed by God. Fitting, as Gamora's own planet was destroyed by a godlike figure, Thanos, so, it goes hand in hand. Tony twists his arc reactor, powering up his car, and nudges out the Grandmaster to reach the finish line first. His car busts through the finish line, reminding me a bit of Light Cycle from Tron. Valkyrie crashes into Topaz in an attempt to save Tony, causing the melt stick to melt the Grandmaster, but since he is immortal, he simply turns into a puddle. The Sicarians crown Valkyrie their king. This is now the 2nd time she's unwillingly become king in the MCU. Tony says this.
Well, I would, but it's time to go home. Pepper's waiting for me.
More of a salt man myself.
Of course, not only a joke about salt and pepper, but Korg's affinity to rocks and the rock jokes. Gamora takes Tony in to face Thanos, but it's a double cross as she uses the melt stick before we cut to black, and I guess we'll never know what happens. Psych! The season 1 finale picks up right after this moment, and to jog your memory, Tony and Gamora take Thanos' gauntlet to Nidavellir and melt it down into lava before Gamora is recruited by the Watcher. The Watcher refers to Gamora as the destroyer of Thanos, so it sounds like the melt stick does work on Eternals, or at least Eternals with no Affinity Stones and a deviant gene. This episode had the first previously on, and it also has the first post-credit scene. The Grandmaster asked Topaz for a bucket and a mop, and judging by Tony's sticky glove, I don't want to know where that bucket was before now. And that's it for my breakdown of Season 2, Episode 4 of What If. This is a huge thanks to John Costa, Brandon Barrick, and Noah Chen for helping me write this video. I'll be their vessels. I owe them everything. We've got a lot more What If breakdowns coming your way, and it truly takes a village for us to do this. Follow me on Twitter at Lulu_Clemons. Follow New Rockstars, and be sure to subscribe for more breakdowns of everything you love. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.